Okay, all right. So I'm going to try to make an Indian dessert today, Indian milk cake, which is called Kalakand, Kalakand. And I don't know. So of course, so the recipe that I'm going to use today is a quick and easy kind of recipe. And the reason it's quick and easy is because I'm actually going to be using condensed milk instead of condensing the milk myself. So actually trying to condense the milk takes forever. And I tried making this once that way and I never wanted to make it that way. So this may not be the most authentic way of doing it, but it tastes to me this pretty similar. So, uh, all right. This sweet, I'll start pretty quickly, but I just wanted to say a couple of things. So this sweet is not very local to any one region. It's actually very pan-Indian. I want to say you can find this. Unlike like a lot of people were alluding to, there's so much diversity and so many different cultures within India that translates into food as well. So you can often go and eat South Indian food is different from Bengali food is different from Gujarati food and so on. But this sweet is a pretty pan-Indian delicacy. Okay, so I'm not really sure exactly what's the best way to go about this, but I can start with showing all the ingredients that I'm using. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can flip this screen. I don't know. Okay, maybe it's not flipping, so I can just show over here. Right, so I'm gonna use milk, and I'm gonna use this whole milk to basically make cottage cheese out of, which is a pretty quick and easy way. But if you happen to have cottage cheese at home or paneer, that's even faster, so you could use that. I'm gonna use some lemon juice that I've taken out into this to actually make the cottage cheese from milk. I have some extra on hand if I need it. Like I showed before, I'm gonna use condensed milk and some pistachios for garnishing and some cardamom powder. So that's basically it. All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take 6 cups of milk and just put it in a pan. Is this, I don't know what the best way is. I know this is probably.
Actually, we can see you pretty well from your computer.
Oh, from okay, yeah, actually, there we go. That should work.
Perfect, thank you.
So yeah, so 6 cups. So I'm just gonna measure this out. That was a little more than 4 cups. So I'm gonna use this to make it up. I have some markings in the pot, which is why I'm not actually measuring it out.
Oh, nice.
Yes. All right, so now we're probably going to wait for a little bit while the milk boils. And as soon as it starts boiling, we add about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice into it as it's boiling. And that curdles the milk and makes, this is actually not helping very much at all. That curdles the milk and makes it into cottage cheese. Then after that, you need another pan into which we will put in the cottage cheese and add the condensed milk into it. And if you weren't using condensed milk, you would just add more milk and sugar and keep on medium heat, keep stirring it till it condenses and congeals together. Over here, what we will do is we'll just directly throw in some condensed milk, and the condensed milk melts and then basically just gets incorporated with the cottage cheese. So it will first melt and then it'll all get gooey and stuff, get cooked together with the cottage cheese.
Nice.
Yeah, and then that's basically it. And then you throw in some ground cardamom for flavor, so you can add that to taste. If you like cardamom, you can add lots of it. And then once it's all congealed and cooked up, we basically just put it out into any kind of container, usually a rectangular little a baking tray or something of that sort, and then it needs to just sit in the fridge for a couple of hours. So it won't look any different after it comes out of the fridge, but it just sets a little in the fridge. So that part we'll just have to.
Mm. I have a question. I wonder if it's a good time to ask.
Yes, because we're just waiting for milk.
Okay. Yeah. So I read that there is like a slight regional difference. Like in the north, seems like people prefer it to be more white, or and then in the south, people prefer it to be like a brown. Or maybe I mixed it up.
No, I think that might be true. Yeah. Yeah.
So the brown one is like a deep fried, or like a.
Oh, is it? Oh, it might be. Like there are so many different versions that you can get anything. So you could take like milk cake. There are many different types of Indian milk cake, and Kalakand is one of them. And I think it is possible that there is another version of it where they do essentially this thing and then deep fry it, or they incorporate some frying. I know that I really don't know that much about. There's so much diversity, but you may be totally right. I just don't know about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was trying to find
pictures you sent in the poster or in the flyer you made, and one looked more brown than the other.
Right, because I was trying to find out where this Kalakand come from, but I didn't find it. The only thing I found was there was a store in Alwar, and Alwar, I think it's a city in India, and the store decided to do some kind of innovation with it, so it's different from the traditional ones. And but I don't know if it's a commercial. It's like, oh, welcome to our store, buy our product, ignore the other people, or if it's the real origin. So I was trying to see if you happen to know.
Yeah, and I'm sure there is some origin to it, but yeah, like that was my impression too. It's pan-Indian. You find it in any sweet shop in India, but some make it better than others. And I'm sure there are like slight variations and differences in different regions.
Yeah. So do you usually eat it like during a family gathering, or is it more like a typical snack, like a after school snack, or?
Yeah, it's not really. You could have it. So I think in many subcultures in India, it is very common to when you go visit somebody, you bring sweets. Or at least I'm Bengali traditionally, which is in the state of West Bengal, which is in the eastern part of the country. So we are Bengalis known for having a sweet tooth. So what we would do when I grew up, when I was living in Calcutta and growing up, anytime you go visit anybody, you bring a bag of little pack of sweets from a sweet shop. So Kalakand might be one of the ones that is more popular for something like that. So when you bring it, you will share it as dessert or just have it with tea sometimes.
Oh, nice.
But it's very uncommon to make. Or at least when I was growing up, my experience in my family and friends was that nobody makes this at home, because you can just like walk down the street and get it at a store. I discovered there was this easy recipe and wanted to make it actually during COVID. I had never made it before COVID.
Yeah, so Shima, when you visited India, did you ever try this before?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, we didn't have this at the ashram. But so Amrita, so there's no flour or anything in it, but the process will make something firm like a cake.
Yes.
Wow.
Because the cottage cheese is going to, so I think the sugar in the condensed milk basically acts as a binding agent. So you have cottage cheese, and then when you put in, and you get like a sticky, firm structure, but it will be crumbly at first, which is why you need to set it in the fridge.
By the way, in case you don't know, Miss Amrita is a biologist, so truly talk like a biologist, which is awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry, and now I don't even realize sometimes when I'm talking to family or friends, I use words like phenotype or which is
awesome.
and then it takes me a while to like realize, oh, I I should remember to not do that all the time.
No.
Amrita, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I think that for you is better talking about a structure instead texture because you are biology.
Oh, structure instead of texture. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and Anna is a civil engineer, so she would prefer you to talk about structure instead of texture.
Yeah. So I think the milk is slowly getting ready. And the other thing is it's good to try and stir it sometimes because otherwise the milk can it's not going to affect the taste or anything, but it's a little harder to clean the pan or the pot if the milk sticks to it and burns. So now I will try to, I really wish I knew how to flip this screen on this. Is there a way that I'm not realizing? There we go.
Oh yeah, you did it.
I thought of, yeah, so you can see that like it's starting to bubble. So I'm gonna turn the heat down because I don't want it to overflow. And then basically, I think this is in this glass, this is about 1 tablespoon. So I might actually end up adding more. So you add this and keep stirring. And you'll slowly see it'll start to separate. And if it doesn't, that just means it needs more. Like you can see how this is starting to curdle.
Can you use vinegar instead of lemon?
I suppose you could use anything acidic.
Yeah.
But I think the lemon, I don't know if that would make the taste of, like, because vinegar can have a strong flavor and lemon is a more mild flavor.
Pleasant, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, so I'm gonna have to set this down for a little bit, but, and I tend to not always measure, so I'm just gonna do this by eye, which may not, but according to the recipe that I had read, it's, I think for 6 cups of milk, it's up to about 3 tablespoons of juice.
I have to say, of all the people who have cooked for us, none of the people who are good chefs measure, except for the last one who is a mathematician. So she
I think I'm just easy. I don't think I'm that good. Yeah. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
Yeah.
So did you learn about this recipe from your parents before, or is
No, I just looked it up. I was just looking at Indian sweet. You know how on Facebook sometimes you get these little recipe videos that pop up, or maybe I have friends who will post things like that. So they're like really quick 2-minute videos of something. And I didn't see one for this, but I happened to find one and just kept clicking and clicking the next one. And then I came across this and I was like, oh, this seems like something that I could make. And it might be fun. So that's how. No, but like I said, like I don't think anybody in my family ever makes this at home.
because it's everywhere.
Yeah, you can buy it easily, and then why would you?
So then in Mumbai, are there like sweet shops close to residential neighborhoods? Are they really like all over the place?
Yes, they're basically all over the place. You could go walk around the neighborhood, and the neighborhoods are not as structured, I would say, as here. Like here you have apartments, and then you have like here we have Weiss, and like you just have, what are those called? There's like a designated mall strip, right, where you go.
Zoning.
Yeah, it's not like that. So you can, in India, in neighborhoods, you can just step outside and walk, and like the next building could be a house. The building after that could be like a house, but that's also doubles up as a shop. There is not that kind of zoning. So it's very, yeah, it's interesting that way. So So yeah, so you can basically, every neighborhood or every street would have, except some places they may not have, but it's never more. A sweet shop is probably, it may not be a great sweet shop, but a sweet shop is probably never more than 10-15 minutes away walking from where
Yeah.
you live.
I actually learned that this, so in Chicago, they have something like that called a mixed use. Oh, I will switch the video. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and I wanted to separate a little more, like you can start seeing the way, like when I don't know, when I turn this, you can start seeing the color of the water is actually slightly different.
Yeah.
I'm being a little extra cautious and not letting it boil too much, but I think once it boils, I'm just afraid it'll overflow and
And you'll have a lot of witnesses if it overflows.
true.
Don't listen to him. It won't happen. It won't happen.
It's okay, even if it did happen.
Why are you using, how do you know when to add extra lemon? Like what are you using in?
It's not, you will see once it is actually ready, you'll see how it looks different, and that's basically, I just keep adding until I start seeing that happen. And I want it to be a little clumpy so that when I drain it, if it's too fine, it's all going to go through the so I just want to separate, like have the cheese separate from the milk.
It's interesting you mentioned like how the zoning in India is not that strict. I think in Chicago, they're trying to do something like that. They call it the mixed use zoning. And they feel it's going to help diminish, at least to a certain extent, the disparity between different ethnicities and a race and social income. But it does cause, but it's not easy because people like to have their neighborhood quiet, or people like to have their neighborhood industrial. But maybe that's a good way for India just organically like have neighbor intermingle with each other.
To start zoning. Yeah, I hope it's, I mean, I can see it, but I may have messed something up. Like it doesn't look the same as it did when I made it before.
Well, maybe we'll just take a little, sometimes the experiment you do at the lab, like it sometimes just work right away, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure we'll get something will come up.
Maybe we all need to close our eyes for it to boil.
Yeah, it is boiling, as you can see.
If it boils too much, it'll be harder to clump.
Sorry?
If it boils too much, it can be harder to clump.
Ah, yeah.
Because of the denaturing of the protein.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, right. I'm Anna Maria. You're also a science teacher. I forgot that. Anna Maria has many skills.
Yeah. See, this is what I don't do this very often. I did try to turn down the.
As it cools, it should clump more.
Yeah. Okay. So I've turned the gas off, and I'm just gonna let it cool over there.
If it boils over, I will give you an alibi.
Sounds good. It won't boil. I mean, yeah, but you're right. It is already starting to clump more, I think. So once it cools down a little more, I'll just drain it and then take the cheese and then start doing the condensed milk part.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it is a slow process. Sorry, not too much to show.
No, this is great. Yeah, thank you for showing us the process. So if we encountered some difficulty when we are cooking, then we're like, oh yeah, even the expert has some difficulties, so we'll forgive ourselves. Yeah, so Amrita, while we are waiting, do you mind if you tell us a little bit about how do you feel growing up in Mumbai?
Oh.
Or Calcutta?
Oh yeah, Calcutta, yeah.
So I grew up my dad had a transferable job, so I actually grew up in a few different places, but the only two that I remember well are Calcutta and then Mumbai. And I spent most of my life growing up. So I grew up in what people would call a suburb of Mumbai. It's actually called New Bombay or New Mumbai is what it's called. And yeah, so the nice thing about that was it was a more newly planned city. So there were slightly more zoning laws than there were in the older parts of the city, but yet it's not very far from the city. It's easy to get a train or drive to the main city. Yeah, I guess, and I spent most of, so Mumbai and Calcutta are among the four biggest cities or the four major cities of India, but they're also very different culturally. And today actually is the biggest festival in Mumbai, the biggest Hindu festival in Mumbai is called Ganesh Chaturthi. So
I saw that. I was trying to ask you what that is.
Yeah, so the elephant god, or the god with an elephant's head instead of its face, is Lord Ganesha. And Lord Ganesha is considered, I think of him as a very friendly god who doesn't get offended easily. Like everybody can bring a little idol home and do their own. That's what makes this particular festival special, as opposed to some of the other Hindu bigger festivals where it's very tedious and difficult to actually have do all the rituals at home for a lot of the festivals, but Ganpati or Ganesh Puja is different. Also, for most Hindu rituals, I think they always start with Ganesh Puja. So as you may be aware, like Hinduism has multiple deities and there are multiple gods and goddesses that we worship. So for instance, any wedding, the wedding proceedings would also start with a Ganesh Puja in most Hindu cultures. Because Lord Ganesha is considered the god of, it's considered auspicious. So any new beginnings and prosperity, a lot of gods bring prosperity, but I think Ganesha represents new beginnings and it's an auspicious start.
And I think also remover of obstacles, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, remover of obstacles. Yes. So yes. I know. I don't know very much about these things. Just very little. So where I grew up, the apartment complex, they would have their own Ganesh Puja, and there would be a cultural program where kids in the complex would put on like a skit or dances, and even adults would sing. So it's a nice community building. Of course, this year it looks different thanks to coronavirus, but usually.
So
Here's a picture of Ganesh.
Sorry?
Here's a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's Ganesh.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure Shihinma, you should feel free to jump in and add, because I'm sure you know a lot.
Oh. But isn't he sweet? Yeah, because at the ashram, we always, every morning started off with a Ganesh Puja, and in bhajans, this devotional singing, the first bhajan was always to, a Ganesh, to Ganesh.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to try and strain this now. I'm going to show what it looks like over here. So you can start to see some clumps, and you can see the whey separating. I did probably do something wrong because it's a little more fine than I'm used to, but I do think this will work.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think so.
No? Okay. All right, so this part I may not be able to show because I'll be taking this to the sink and I'll be straining.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't want you to have to grow a third hand.
So, but I just wanted to show you how, like, this is what I'm using to strain it, basically.
Yeah. So Shima, seems like you had a lot of celebration in India. That's really awesome.
Oh yeah, with Ganesh Chaturthi, they used to get an icon of Ganesh, and then people would come and light lamps and walk around it with their prayers and always clockwise, of whatever their prayers and what they wanted to let go of. And then in Ganesh Chaturi, there was this big puja, and then the idol, the representation of Ganesh then would be taken to, because at least the ashram was next to the ocean, so it would be taken to, first it'd be usually Amma was giving darshan, so it'd be taken in to the darshan hall with Amma, and then it would be taken out and we'd take it to the ocean, and people would basically walk into the ocean and let it all, they made it out of plaster, so it would eventually dissolve in the ocean, but take into the ocean and let it free. So
Wow.
but it was always a fun time, and we all have things we need to let go of and things that we would like to have cleared in our lives. So it was a really good chance to reflect on that and to celebrate that.
Yeah. Is there a reason why you should walk clockwise, or?
I think at least everything I ran into in Hinduism, also Buddhism, that you're always walking clockwise. Energetically, what I learned was like our chakras all go clockwise. Our energy centers are all running clockwise. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. But there's a bunch of things. I don't think it has anything to do with the clock. It's just the way things are spinning.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. Thank you for.
If you go counterclockwise, I think you might go backwards in time.
Maybe that's what we need to do.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So Amrita, I know you are Bengali, so do you also celebrate a Hindu festival, or?
So my family was Hindu, and we practiced Hindu customs and traditions growing up. So the biggest Bengali festival is Durga Puja, which actually happens in State College as well. There is a little association that gets together, and that is Goddess Durga with her 4 children comes down from Kailash to Earth, which is like it's like her returning to her her premarital home. And she brings her 4 kids with them. So that's how Bengalis will talk about it. Ma is coming with her children, and Lord Ganesha is one of her and Lord Shiva's children. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. This is so fun.
Thank you. Okay, so this is now ready. So as you can see, so I've strained it out, and that's the cottage cheese. I also rinsed it out in cold water. That not only helped make some slightly larger clumps, but also kind of washes off some excess lemon juice or that lemony flavor. So this shouldn't taste it should be a pretty neutral flavor. And you can see this is quite white, although it has a slightly yellow tinge. So, like you were saying, the North Indian version is more white. So the recipe that I saw actually says you can add more milk powder to this when you add in the condensed milk to make it look more white. I personally don't care about the color very much, so I'm not going to add that.
Oh, okay.
Amrita, you said that if we didn't do this, if we had cottage cheese, we could start there with this?
Yes.
Like, here, okay.
If you had paneer or cottage cheese, you could crumble. And this is, if you get it to similar consistency, you could use that.
What kind of cottage cheese would you recommend?
That's good to know.
Would you recommend large, clump, small? Like usually when you go to the store, it's large, medium, small, and low fat, high fat.
I think the traditional way, I would say no low fat or no skim, like go full fat. And
go for it. Yeah.
Go for it. Or that's how it would be made traditionally. And clumps, like you can see this size. Once it cooks, it's going to all melt and then congeal with the condensed milk anyway, so it won't matter so much. Also, if somebody wants to, this is, I think, how they start. This is how you start making paneer at home too. Once you have it like this, if you just make it compact and put weights on it and mold it and just let it be in the fridge for a couple of for overnight or something, I think that's how you get like paneer, the paneer that they use to cook paneer dishes. This is basically paneer. So that's why if you get paneer at the store, paneer is all this, but a ton more and just really compacted, and you get all the water out of it and you have just the cheese.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Paneer, yeah. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is turn this to medium. So I have an electric stove with 1 to 10. So I'm going to like 5.5 or 6 or something. And then I put all the cottage cheese, paneer, or this that we just made onto it. And then basically the next thing I'm gonna do is one can of sweetened condensed milk.
Do you have to have a nonstick pan? Is it better? Easier to
better, but you don't have to have it because you can keep if you stir, because traditionally they make these in steel karhais, like these woks that are made of metal. So those are not nonstick. But I do. All
But
right.
they probably are very good at washing the wok.
They probably are, yes. And this particular pan of mine has lost some of its non-stickness. So like even when I make eggs or something on it, it actually sticks. So this, I might be somewhere halfway between using like one of these steel ones versus
Oh yeah! Wow, your kitchen looks so nice with the pans hanging on the wall. That's
there
nice.
was no. So my husband and I are in the middle of consolidating. So he's officially moved here to stay.
Oh.
Yay! Yeah. So we had 2 moves. So we moved from my old apartment to it's in the same complex, but it's a 2-bedroom apartment. And we also went down to Virginia and moved his stuff up. So it's been a crazy few. Like this is the first weekend in the last 5 weekends that there have like either we were moving or we were helping somebody move because of moving season. So.
Oh, and your only weekend, you're not moving, you're doing an event with us. That is so nice of you.
This is fun. No, that's why I had told you when we were trying to find a date for this, I knew this would be the earliest that it would be feasible. But no, this is fun. And this way I'll get to have this at home. Otherwise, I don't think I would have made it. So just to show you what it looks like from the top, right now it's just condensed milk and the cottage cheese. And I'm gonna just, it's good this dish is very simple. It just takes a little time and you kind of want to keep stirring so that everything mixes properly. Oh, sorry, that was bad.
Well, I have 2 questions. One is it ever made in a double boiler so that you don't have to stir so much? And also in India, are there different flavors? Like, can you add like saffron or are there different flavors to this?
Sorry. Those are both good questions. I don't know. I have never used a double boiler, but I don't think it really matters what the surface is in which it is cooked, as long as the condensed milk is going to melt, and then you can just heat it. So I'm sure that's the main purpose. I think it doesn't matter if that's getting done. The second question, I'm sure it would be, so there are many different sweets. So like I said, there are other kinds of milk cakes, and it's possible that they use a variation of this same recipe and add other flavoring agents or nuts or whatever you want. Like you said, saffron would be a great addition to this. I think it would work really well. But if you went to a store and just asked for Kalakand, so you see the consistency here is a little bit thinner than the condensed milk was. That's because the condensed milk is melting. Yes, but if you went to a store and asked if somebody was selling Kalakand, then that would always have just sugar, milk, and cardamom are the flavors that will be in it.
Unless they're trying to do something creative to attract Miss Claudia and.
And then they would probably call it like saffron Kalakand, or they would call it whatever, mango Kalakand, like whatever other flavor you want to add. You could add or chocolate kalakand. I know chocolate kalakand is a thing, so I think you can just
Wow.
go to this.
I was just wondering if it was like ice cream where there's
Oh,
flavors and
somebody
Yeah,
is ready to sell some Kalakand.
I think that cinnamon
cinnamon
is
would be
good.
good. Yeah.
Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to, hear of people like you can do whatever you want, but I understand the question better now. So if the question is whether it's like Kalakand where you can go and there like or it's like ice cream where vanilla, strawberry, chocolate, or you can expect to get many flavors, I don't think Kalakand is quite treated like that. But I'm sure there are that people can't, like, I'm sure people do it and then they'll just call it a specialty item.
Okay, good.
Or there are other milk cakes that follow a similar base recipe and then modify it with other things.
So I have a question, Amrita. Can you use light milk or this is whole milk or
Whole milk. I used whole milk. Yeah.
what happens if I use light milk?
No.
Is it possible to get the cheese or not? Maybe not.
I don't think so. I would think so because the cheese. This is my I don't want to screw this up because I'm a biologist, but I think it's mostly the proteins that are curdling out. And is that right? Is that what cheese is? The fats and the proteins, or is it just the proteins?
Maybe I should ask my Wisconsin husband. Do you know that?
We're not allowed to talk about it.
Both. You almost never want to cook anything that requires baking or something like a dessert with any light type of dairy product. I mean, if you're making your own cheese, kind of, but if you're doing the cottage cheese, do not buy light or fat-free. It will not hold together and it will weep. That goes for any cake or whatnot, unless it specifically calls for that. Otherwise, I mean, you use light, you're going to need an egg as a binder.
Yeah.
Okay, I think.
Yeah, I haven't tried it with it, but that's the recommendation I've heard too. All the recipes, they say you shouldn't try and substitute with low fat. Or should use whole
And may I remind you, whole milk is only 4% fat.
Right.
So, it's a pretty fat-free subject to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. So I didn't know that. I somehow thought whole milk is like whole milk. I didn't realize.
Whole milk is only 4% fat, 96% fat-free.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah. So you can see now it's starting to thicken again. And we really want it to get quite thick, almost back to the same consistency as the cheese, except it holds together more. And now I'm turning down the heat again because we don't want, at this stage, if it burns, I think that can affect the flavor. It was not such a big deal in the beginning. Or, I mean, if their milk burns, then yes, that'll, your cheese will be burnt too, or taste burnt, but it's even more important at this stage.
I'm so glad you decided to do this dish because I searched for different things. I never realized how much milk are in India. It's like, oh, wow, they drink a lot of milk and they use milk in almost everything. And that's really interesting. Do you happen to know why? Or
I can't say that I know exactly why, but I do know that especially in the north and the west, I think there is a lot of dairy farming. There is also a large vegetarian population in India who use milk and milk products as a very important source of protein.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So milk and north, and I think there is a greater, I guess South India also has a lot of vegetarianism, but I do know that the west, like Punjab, Haryana, those north and northwestern states rely heavily on dairy farming and dairy.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so this is actually a decent time to, again, I'm sure there is use this to taste. I like cardamom a lot, so I put a decent amount cardamom. If you...
That looks good.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've turned down the thing to 2 as well. So it's very mild, gentle heat. Oops.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, why are you sorry?
And we know that Anna is going to use cinnamon.
Mm,
You already said that.
that'll work.
Yeah, so I'm not sure because cardamom is really good too, but I think that cinnamon could be a very nice experiment.
Yeah, I
Like
think
maybe,
cinnamon can work.
maybe clay, cinnamon and claves. It sounds good.
I think
I
cinnamon
think.
clove sounds
Yeah.
good. I want to hear how these
Yeah.
go for now.
And you could also
How do
throw
you
in
smell?
both cardamom and cinnamon. So now you can see it's really, really thick and getting,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so this process would easily take the one time I didn't have condensed milk and I still really wanted to make this. And I'd say, oh, what's the problem? I'll just do it with milk. It took an hour and a half to slowly, that was not my thing. It turned out, and that's actually the more authentic way of making it. And I think it does make a little difference. The best thing is you have a little more control over how much sugar you add. So if you don't mind it being this consistency, and just serve it in a cup, like right now, if you could eat it right now. I'm just going to do the next few steps because that's when you say kalakand, you expect like those little square blocks. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe Shima can do like a Kalakand meditation activity. So we'll just stir for an hour and do meditation together.
This is
I think I may have had it, but I didn't recognize because it's the little white squares, and they're kind of mushy a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still crumbly, but still hold together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I must have had it. It was good.
Yeah.
I wish I could reach through the screen, right?
After it's cooked, does it have to be refrigerated?
Yes.
Okay, so it has to stay refrigerated.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
With this recipe, they said you can, if you refrigerate it, it should be set in about half an hour. Longer doesn't hurt. But if you made it with fresh milk, and depending on how much patience, how long you do this for and how far you get it ready here, it may take a little bit longer. And even if you don't refrigerate it, it will still set. The thing is, it needs to cool. It's really hot right now, so it's a little more, it's a little less together and a little less structured.
Yeah, but I mean, after it's all cooked and firmed up and everything, then do you have to keep it refrigerated?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You want to keep it, because like most milk products or cheese and
spoil.
milk and sugar, it'll spoil easily. Yeah.
So we should
treat it easily. There's a lot of sugar in it, but you should refrigerate it.
We should treat it like a cheese product.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because if you wanted to taste a little bit right now, we wouldn't judge you.
No, I don't know. Maybe I should before I said it. But the point is, any of the ingredients you can go. So if I taste it and I realize I wanted more cardamom, you can throw it on at any stage. Even after it's ready, if you taste it and you're like, oh, like you could I'm don't tell people in India I said this, but it would be fine. Like you can put it and.
We won't tell people in India you said this.
But yeah, so I think it's. I'm gonna turn the heat off, and I'm gonna show you one more time what this looks like. It's really. So it's not it's not all that different from the cheese that we saw, except it's a little more in volume because now there's the condensed milk and so yeah, it doesn't hold its shape very well right now. And you can see now it has a slight brownish tinge to it. It's not like the clear white of milk. That's why if you want, but if you want it to look white, you could put milk powder into like when you add the condensed milk, and that will make it more white. All right, so the stove is off. I'm going to use this just like a baking sheet, and this is really large, so I'm not going to actually, it won't fit in so much space. I'm going to put some foil on it. And I'm going to, so when I put the foil on, you just want it to go all over the sides. Like that. And then slowly transfer. Is that visible? I should.
Yeah, very visible and very clear.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to transfer this over. You could use anything. Like if you have a better mold, I have a bread pan, but that's too high, and I wouldn't be able to show it as well. So I'm not using that. But you could. I also feel like this height of any standard baking tray is about right for what I'm used to seeing with Kalakand. But again, this is all up to you, however you want to do it.
So
I want to use molds and go crazy with different shapes also.
So I was debating whether we should call it Indian milk cake or Indian cheesecake. Then I thought maybe I should ask someone who uses cheese a lot. Anna Maria, I know you do cheese product a lot. What do you think? Should we call it a milk cake or cheesecake?
I don't know. I go for the milk cake. And that would be my mom, the big cheese guru over there that likes cheese on everything.
Yeah, so you're getting us hopefully some idea of what the thickness or consistency, that's really totally up to you. So ideally, if I had, this is why I was mentioning a bread pan, because a bread pan is usually like, this might be what, like 2.5 inches or something in width. But
you nailed it.
So if I would often just use a bread pan, because then it automatically gets it doesn't have to be that width, but it gets to the right height. And now,
how big is it? So it's, how big a piece did you just make out of?
So this is the entire cake. Once it has set.
But how big is the entire cake, Amrita? You know what I mean? I'm trying to get a size that's an idea of volume.
Yeah.
He wants you to measure it.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I think that's about 2.5 inches. This is just a standard baking tray. I'm trying to. Okay. I can send a note later with the dimensions. I have.
Your hand span is about 8 to 9 inches if you go.
It's 9 inches. Yeah.
Yeah, Shima, she will use measuring tape later after the event.
So one last thing is to garnish. I wanted to use pistachios. I'm going to crush those up a little bit, just using a mortar and pestle, but you could do it however you want. You don't have to use pistachios. You can use any nut of your choice, cashews, almonds, but I think pistachios are a little more standard or what's more commonly used. So I'm just trying to find, I had the more, okay. So this is what I'm going to use basically to crush the pistachios. I don't know that I should be doing it on the tray.
No, this is very relaxing. Appreciate you do that. So Anna, what kind of nuts are you gonna use? Are you going to use a different kind because you?
So, do you know what? We have one similar dessert in Colombia. Do you know Ana Maria? Is the name in Colombia is cortado. It's very similar, but we use okay, same base, milk, lemon, and after that we put no sugar. We have a kind of sugar from cane.
Ooh.
That is called panela, and we put panela. This is a kind of sugar, but we never put the final product in the refrigerator. It's just when it is cold, and that's it. It's delicious. It's really good. I think that because it's very common in Colombia and some countries from South America too. Yeah.
Did you say it's called talo?
So the cortado is like a cutting, because we separate, we divide the milk from the water. It's the same process. It's the same process. But the official name is like cortado, or there is another name, but the most common is cortado. It's like cut. It's the same meaning, like cut.
So then what spices do you use with it, Anna?
No, we don't use spices. Just milk, lemon if you wanna cut and to separate milk and water, and panela, or this is a kind of sugar. That's it. It's really good. It's really good.
So buy it wise.
Oh, sugar.
That's interesting because I think Amrita, most of the Indian cooking are most famous for its spice, and then now Anna said, "Oh, we don't use spice." It's kind of interesting. There's a contrast there.
All right, so I think these are, there's not really a very specific size that this needs to be. As you can see, it's just coarsely chopped up. And you can, again, it's up to you. I think you can make it as coarse or fine as you like. And then I'm basically just going to put it all over on the...
I find the most interesting thing about this dish is the ingredients you use are so simple, and yet somehow it transforms milk into like a dessert. It's like, oh, I can do that too. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I find that really, that's why I was so surprised, because I never considered that this could be so easy to make at home. So now I'm just pressing, this is an optional step, but if you're doing this, just puts the nuts a little more firmly into the, and that's basically, I think that's basically it. And now if it just sits,
Un dulce casi como el que hacemos nosotros. Es hindú. De
Yeah, that looks really good.
yeah, so that's, I'm trying to put it under the light. Okay.
Oh, it looks so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So now maybe you can see some of the, so once it is set, you could use a knife and just section it however you want. So that should, like, you could go that, and then, so I can imagine, like, you can cut up as many square pieces as you want out of it. And maybe, but it would be hard to do now because like once it is set in the fridge for a little bit, those pieces will then come off and hold their shape. Whereas right now, if you were to do that, you could, it's edible, you could eat it, but it won't hold like a square shape. It won't be like a little bar that you can. But that's about it. So I'm gonna go. Oops, sorry, that looks just gross. I'm just gonna.
Oh no, it looks delicious.
I'm gonna just go put this in the fridge, and it'll set for half an hour, and then it'll be ready.
Oh yeah, thank you. Please take a picture for us, and so we can.
Yeah. I'll take a picture when it comes out.
Yeah, take it. Not. Yeah, appreciate it.
I'll take a picture of a square and show what it like how it should hold.
Yeah.
Finished product.
And we will have Anna show what she makes with cinnamon and cocada, I think. Yeah, and see what the difference is.
So cortado.
Yeah, you have to teach me how to spell it.
Other
So
name,
it's like
cuajada?
sorry?
Is the other name cuajada?
No. This is different. Is we say in Bogota, because in Cali cortado is different, but it's similar. It's the taste. It's very similar. It's like the spelling is cortado. Okay, which means cut, but in past participle, cut. So cortado, and yeah, so it's very similar. It's very, of course, this Indian dessert is much better. It looks good, delicious.
Yeah, it does look good. Yeah. Amrita, thank you so much. I'm sure there are some questions. So does anyone have questions for Amrita before we end this lovely evening? I'm sure there are a lot of questions later, if not now. So
Yeah. Well, thank you all for watching. This was really fun to do, and now I have Kalakand at home.
yeah, I know. Yeah. So does anyone? I know Anna Maria is gonna give it a try. I saw that she was taking notes very diligently, which I always admire her for doing that. So Anna Maria, do you think you are gonna do exactly the same like what Amrita did, or are you gonna do something different?
Well, I love pistachios, so I think I'd probably go for the same version.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And I know Anna is gonna try it, but with cinnamon, right?
So how big a piece would you cut it, Amrita? How big? And then is there a particular drink that you'd eat it with? Because it's be sweet. So would you eat it with
Good question.
your coffee or chai or something, or alone? What context?
I would just have it like I would have it as dessert after meal, or even as an afternoon snack. I think it would go well with chai. The one downside is if you're used to putting a little sweetening your chai with some sugar, after this your chai may not taste as
Mango lassi.
yeah. Yeah, that would be fun. I've never tried. Yeah, I think it just generally, or you could have it with like this is the type of thing that we could have at home, and if you have guests coming over, that's like the first thing while you're or in India, that's how it would be. Not even necessarily as dessert, but it could just be like, oh, welcome, come sit, have like you just give it with water. And like before dinner even. It's not quite an appetizer, or if somebody's not coming for dinner but just coming to hang out, you can.
So how long will it keep in the fridge, do you think? Maybe.
I think it'll be good. I usually I make that amount and I eat it up pretty quickly. But I think it's definitely good for like 3 to 5 days in the fridge.
Can you freeze it?
I've never tried. I don't know.
It probably changes the consistency.
The texture might.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm trying to think, like, would we freeze, like if we froze cottage cheese, how would that?
It should be similar to freezing a cheesecake. As long as if you freeze it while cut up, you should be able to serve it once it hits room temp and eat it, but I wouldn't defrost the whole thing if you're not planning on eating it all.
Wow, you all.
I can look up and see if people have tried that. I really don't know. I haven't tried it.
Well, I've frozen milk before, but it's
long enough to be frozen.
Yeah.
We all heard what Amrita said at the beginning of the event. She said the Indian tradition is when we visit her, she will give us a box of sweet so we can take home, and so we will all visit you after.
Yeah, that goes both ways. Well, yeah. No, so when you come, I will feed you sweet. But when I go to visit you, I will bring a box of sweets.
Oh, that's so nice. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I
Like that.
should have been clear. Yeah. So I would go to if I was in India, I'd go to a store and I could buy like a pound or depending on how big the gathering is or how big the family is, like of like any sweet, like laddus or kalakand or whatever, and you bring that as a
Yeah, that's wonderful. We will definitely visit you and invite you right afterwards.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. This is a very lovely evening, and thank you so much for everyone who shared their Indian
Thank
story.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Shane.
you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Amrita.
Bye.
Amrita, enjoy
Bye.
the bird.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Thank you. Oops.